There's been a resurgence of people playing one particular game, Dark Souls 2.
I'm bad. I'm so bad at this game.
So I decided to stream my entire first playthrough of Dark Souls 2.
What? That's not me. That's not what happened.
Despite having no idea how Twitch works.
I'm playing Dark Souls 2, I'm fat, I'm alone, everyone's watching me. I would like to see you do better.
Or a PlayStation controller.
Fire! 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 Did I do it?
This is going to be a long one, so I'm really grateful to have a sponsor for today's video, Opera GX. I've collaborated with Opera GX several times now and use their browser all the time. If it wasn't clear, yes, I am an anime fan and occasionally make references to it in my lore videos. In fact, there will be some in this one. With GX mods from Opera GX, you can personalize your browser to perfectly reflect your taste in anime. Whether you're a fan of shonen, shoujo, seinen, or any other genre, GX Mods allows you to completely modify your browser to your liking, with themes, music, and sounds to suit you. You can even mix and match components from various different mods for endless options. For instance, I can use the Vinland Saga background, but with the Spirited Away themed sound effects. You have a variety of wallpapers to choose from, including animated ones like this Elden Ring one, and live ones that even respond to your inputs, as well as alternative light mode versions if you're one of those people. You can have custom background music, sounds when typing on the keyboard, and audio effects when opening or closing a tab. You can customize the taskbar icon, the splash screen that appears when launching the browser, the UI icons within the browser itself, and shaders that can transform your entire screen, applying effects like sun rays. All these features can be individually enabled or disabled with a single easy button click. If you don't know who I am, then you're not missing out, don't worry. But I've predominantly talked about Elden Ring on this channel for the past 2 or 3 years. I've only very briefly dipped into other Souls titles. I talk about story. I'm not known for my gamer skills. I knew nothing about Dark Souls 2. I had somehow managed to avoid seeing any bosses, NPCs, or areas during my time on the internet. So after fumbling my way through the menus and creating a character that resembled me somewhat,
I'm incredibly pale.
I was launched into this eerie world and quickly learned about the humanity system. Now, when people say Dark Souls 2 punishes you for dying, they aren't joking. Every time you die, your maximum HP gradually decreases, along with your overall level of attractiveness. This can be easily remedied by using the human effigy item, but it took me a while to adjust to this feature. My first few combat encounters were clumsy as I familiarized myself with the timings, dodgings, and drinking animations. However, eventually I began to find my rhythm. I certainly wasn't in any hurry, taking in the environments and enemies as I went.
Uh-oh. Now that's a big sword.
I must say, the enemy AI was rather charming. I didn't really encounter any issues with it apart from just some funny glitches. As I mentioned, I took it slow and steady, which allowed me many moments to observe how enemies interact with you and the surroundings. Speaking of which, I'm going to lump together these first couple of areas for brevity, as the game does have a relatively slow start, and I am a slow learner.
How do you parry?
And I never parried again after this. Anyway, my first boss was the last giant, and I summoned a fellow called Sellsword Luet to help me.
He's a sellsword, but he has 2 shields. I like your style.
This wasn't a hard fight if you know how to approach a giant enemy in Souls games, just usually hug their feet. But seeing how this giant fight possibly influenced inclusions in future Souls titles was also cool. I'll go into that later, don't you worry. And as far as first fights went, this one was pretty decent. The next one was Dragon Rider.
We have to fight on this little platform, really?
Interestingly, there are some things you can do to actually change this fight. As my chat suggested, I should pull this lever that an enemy was guarding and watch what happens. You have to fight this boss on a rather narrow, circular platform by default. If you wish, this can work in your favour, but I wanted to have a go at squaring up and taking him on. There is another lever you can pull to add an additional ring for the final wide circle arena, but I felt that I had enough space with the one additional circle, so after I got an idea of his moveset, I enjoyed it trading blows back and forth and adjusting to the flow of combat in this game.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. You falter. You falter in front of me. I'll destroy you.
As I played, I was pleasantly surprised. I genuinely had not encountered any glaring anti-fun elements. Oh, to be fair, the bosses were considerably easier than the standard enemies, so actually trying to get to the boss proved much harder than the boss fight itself. And I can see how some players might not like this. This may be due to the new inclusion of the ADP stat. Now, what does ADP do, I hear you ask? Please don't ask. Very simply, increasing ADP allows you to dodge and drink faster. When you start the game, rolling feels somewhat sluggish.
I'm pressing dodge for reference.
And healing is slow. But to be honest, you do get used to it. If you've played DS3 and then immediately booted up DS2, I can imagine it would feel like you are walking through mud. Common player criticism seems to be that this new stat forces them into wasting points in a category which shouldn't have existed in the first place. That point could be better spent elsewhere. However, as a counterpoint, leveling up in this game is very easy. It's paced well, and I never felt starved for souls. I felt generously rewarded when I defeated bosses, and I never felt the need to grind for souls in order to progress. So I was never reluctant to invest points into ADP. In fact, I opted to invest early while still deciding on what build to pursue. Speaking of pursue, I hit my first wall, the Pursuer. This boss deals a lot of damage quickly. He likes to get in close and offers you little time to breathe. When I first fought the Pursuer, I was blown away by his introduction.
Wood.
And how weak I felt against him.
Okay, I'm understanding.
Even when I got a sense of his moveset and where to dodge, my damage output wasn't sufficient. So I decided to come back when I had a few more levels and some levels in ADP, and had an amazing fight against this boss.
Oh, don't choke, don't choke, don't choke. We got this. We got this.
My chat informed me after the fact that there was another way you could have fought this boss as well.
You can use that in the fight? He dies in seconds using that, really?
Anyway, that's enough positivity. Let's talk about the first significant area.
Blight Town?
Going in blind, this area took me through all the stages of grief. By the end, I understood why it has such a reputation. I realized rather too late that the gimmick here is the torch system.
So dark. Oh, I wish I could see anything.
The layout was already disorientating, but the overwhelming darkness made it even worse. Torches in Dark Souls 2 are consumables with a timer, but you can also light sconces along the way which remain lit permanently. Surprising level of realism to them as well. You fall in water, it goes out. Put it away in your pocket, it also goes out. So while torches aren't mandatory, they certainly make things a lot easier, especially if you don't have someone or something to light the way. Meet Kevin.
Hey!
Despite chat screaming at me that a friend was nearby, I instinctively cut him down before he had a chance to prove himself.
His friend? But So he just follows you. No way, he follows you around with a torch? And I killed him?
Luckily, after a brief mourning period, I discovered Kevin does indeed respawn. So this time, we set off together to clear out the area. Of course, having a lit torch also means enemies would aggro from much farther away, a lesson that I learnt the hard way when I got swarmed. And since I decided to take on the extra challenge of keeping Kevin alive, things got a bit complicated.
Kevin, behind you. I have to be really careful and not hurt Kevin. God, it's like an... Oh, shh. Okay, sorry, Kevin. Kevin, don't. Don't do it, Kevin. He's fine.
Eventually, though, I realised his true purpose.
Right, look away, chat.
No Man's Wolf is a perfect tutorial for torches. Some enemies even react to the light, sconces reveal hidden paths, and even with visibility, the winding nature of the area is disorientating.
How far until the next bonfire, can I just ask? There is no next bonfire? Well... You're telling me this area has no point to it.
On a particularly lucky run-through, I finally reached the bell in order to call the ghost ship into harbour, only to realise I'd forgotten one small thing, the shortcut to get to the boat.
So now I have to run back all that way? Because I didn't kick down the bridge. Is that what you're telling me? Right, we're going right. There it is! How do we kick it? You can kill me all you want, but I have that bridge.
That's when my chat informed me that I had also missed another shortcut, right at the start.
You skipped the first shortcut? Then what was that one? There was the boss shortcut.
Which meant that I'd been making this area way harder for myself. Oh, and there was one more thing. One of Dark Souls 2's nicest touches is that NPC summons aren't limited to boss fights. Some areas have them too. Since I hadn't fully grasped how humanity worked yet, I'd been hollow this entire time. So when I did happen to become human, I finally discovered the summon who could have made this whole area much easier. Bradley.
Oh my god, he's taken on the whole world. Let's go, Bradley. I think he can also heal you. Oh, he can heal himself, clearly. Good job, Brad. Oh. Oh. You're telling me this guy was here the whole time?
But you know, if I'd had Bradley, I wouldn't have experienced all this character growth. Anyway, I wrapped things up here by summoning Lucatil, a face that I'd be seeing again, to take on the area's boss, the Flexile Sentry. Having a summon here did make things much easier. While this double-torsoed lizard creature faced her, I was able to attack its much less aggressive other side. The funny thing about this boss is that if you were to do it solo, or just happened to take much longer, you would notice that the room is gradually filling with water, making it harder for you to move and of course dodge.
Oh my god, the water is rising! Can they float the thing? Nope. Quick. Goodbye.
There were a lot of enemies here, who I learned could very easily overwhelm you.
I can put you spaced out there. Oh, that's a lot of enemies. I can't see. Oh dear. Oh dear, I'm in a corner. Oh dear, this is bad.
Coupled with the fact that this was the run back path to the boss, in fairness it wasn't super far to run, and once I perfected it, it was easy to flow through. And I had to do a lot of running back, as the Ruined Sentinel boss was another wall that I hit. So the summons for this boss did help. However, the latter was much harder to get to with the number of enemies, and having two bosses simultaneously made the boss harder, as it typically does in Souls games. So in the end, I just elected to summon Belclair and have her magic nuke them down. This boss itself was a really interesting challenge. You fall into the room onto a small platform where the first of the three enemies is. You have two choices: fight the first sentinel in this cramped area, or drop down into the main arena. However, the other two enemies will also join you if you do so. I elected to try and get the first sentinel down as much as possible before either falling or taking the fight downstairs. There was also some really nice details about these enemies they will sometimes throw their shield at you and it will actually get lodged in the wall, meaning for the rest of the fight they won't actually have it to defend themselves with. I then did some exploring, got lost, and fought the Belfry Gargoyles, undoubtedly one of the boss battles ever, before ending up at Sinner's Rise and facing off with the Lost Sinner. It was so incredibly cool, chains spread across the room, fighting with this blade while having her hands shackled together, yet remaining swift and decisive. Shaded Woods wasn't so much shaded as it was incredibly foggy and incredibly paranoia-inducing.
Which is like, high school? Like the qualification you do in high school? Sorry, I'm being attacked by an invisible man. A woman.
It has invisible enemies that you can't lock onto and you can barely see, especially if you turn the brightness all the way up in game like I did initially.
Oh! God.
After getting jump scared, backstabbed and violated a little bit, I finally made it out of the fog and into the ruins. The number of mini-quests and NPCs in this area actually increases quite significantly, which really appealed to me. You have Vengar, which took me ages to see who's actually a disembodied head amongst a pile of bones and rubble. He tasks you to find his raging, mindless body. You also have Tark, a man-scorpion who can't talk to you unless you equip this specific ring that allows you to hear the voices of enemies. You need your help putting down his wife, a beautiful princess with a disorder.
This boss was pretty attractive. I don't know about the human part there. Thank you. I'm really glad you highlighted that message.
And Ornifex, who I am still processing to this day. This area was a lot of fun, and I didn't even mind these stinky cursed pots. I didn't crash out at all.
Shoot. Let me hit you. No, you're joking. Let me hit you. Let me hit you. Let me hit you, goddamn. You're mine. Why can't I hit it? It makes no sense that I can't hit it.
We don't talk about that. Next, people suggested that I go back and explore this area, Huntsman's Copse, which I hadn't realised I'd actually missed. In fairness, that is how I felt about a lot of the game. This game has so many branching paths, especially doubling back to areas you might have already completed to find a new path already available. In that sense, DS2 felt so open and constantly expanding. This might not be a style that everyone enjoys, and I get that. I didn't mind it too much, especially coming from Elden Ring, a game that is defined by its open world structure, but thanks to my viewers, they ensured I would not miss this area. Thanks for that, by the way. Huntsman's Copse, as an area design, I must say is pretty good. Yellowy green stormy sky, pale barren trees, the winding path up to a group of executioners waiting to pounce on you, and of course, the bridge. It's even foreshadowed you're going to go there when you enter the area for the first time. Now, what this area is like to play is another story. After finally managing to clear the enemies, the bridge had tricks of its own.
Oh, I wasn't looking.
I think I probably fell the most in this area.
Punish that. We've become human, and we are untouchable. Oh.
I also don't want to talk about it. But there's more. After all the environmental and enemy hazards, a red phantom awaits you once you've crossed the bridge in one piece. This part was challenging for me. I do tend to choke a bit when environment is a stressor, so I was worried about where I was fighting and found it hard to concentrate on what actually I was fighting. It was so incredibly punishing if you made a single mistake here.
Should I fight on the rickety bridge or pinned up against the fog wall? Which one? How would I prefer to get my sanity? Come Come, come. This stupid piece of fabric that keeps blocking my vision. Adds nothing to the environment. I hate that it's there. I hate that I can't see. I hate that you're here.
And eventually, finally locked in.
I want to die.
Oh yeah, and then I had to fight a boss.
This is a cutscene ass boss? Oh, that's me. I thought that was the boss.
The Executioner's Chariot was what I would call a semi-gimmick boss fight, but nevertheless I really enjoyed it. At first I thought it might be a dreaded hallway battle, but in fact it was the opposite.
Oh! Pull! Whatever this does. What'd that do? Ah! Ha-ha! The way is closed. I have no Estus. Where's the boss? Oh!
You must find a lever that dismounts the rider, leaving you to fight the crazed two-headed horse. It's also a fight that teaches you to locate the necromancer mages to stop the skeleton ads from respawning. Overall, pretty solid boss battle. With one of the two bosses down, I proceeded to the other side of the map, where I began an interesting friendship with the legendary summon Bashful Ray. Now Ray and I didn't get off on the best foot.
Nice grippers. Oh, leave him alone, Ray. He's got his binoculars out. Wait.
When not using his binoculars, he didn't really contribute a whole lot before choosing to dismiss himself.
Ray, could you do anything? He's got his claws out. Task completed. Oh well, good. I'm glad you think that you've done a good enough job to unsummon yourself.
But that wouldn't be the last of him. I then went on to fight the Skeleton Lords, who in all honesty I really enjoyed. I am a whimsical skeleton enjoyer. Each one upon defeat would spawn more skeletons of a different type depending on the lord that you just felled. And maybe I was a bit over-leveled for this area, seeing as I missed it earlier. Perhaps it was just because of the sheer power of the Claymore's broad sweeps that I didn't struggle with this boss at all. Next we entered Harvest Valley, and after some cosplay research, I met the greatest enemy design in the entire FromSoft catalogue.
They have a cut animation when they step on you. That's crazy. What kind of sick freak would be into that?
After farming the Desert Sorcerer set for a while for research purposes, I started to suspect that poison would be prevalent in this next coming area. From the green fog at the beginning to the hotboxing holes and even the many jars filled with the stuff, we reached Earthen Peak and were immediately greeted by the boss known as Covetous Demon. I may have been incredibly fortunate as I didn't get to see this one particular mechanic of his.
Anyway, he grabs you, he eats your encrypted items. You're joking. There once was a man whose deep affections were unrequited. He transformed into the covetous demon, which only made him lonelier than before. Buddy, I'm sorry.
I felt a lot of pity for this guy. Now, navigating Earthen Peak was difficult for me once again. It's pretty vertical with crossing points and stairs, and I lost my progress multiple times because I wasn't paying attention to my HP.
Is this worth anything? I'm about to die.
And that didn't change with the boss, apart from dying to poison a whole lot quicker.
Oh, fun. Oh, I'm standing in poison. Oh, this is gonna be good. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, if I didn't have my chat to help me here, I doubt I would have been able to figure out the puzzle here without looking it up. I have no issue with following guides, however, someone please explain to me how setting fire to the windmill drains the poison out of the reservoir.
So that drains the poison? I have some thoughts.
And just for fun, I also summoned Jimbalatro.
Thomas, steady on. She's already dead. Damn. pyromaniac clowns.
After seeing enough of the green area, I returned to Heidi's Tower of Flame to cleanse my palette with blue. Again, if I had simply turned my head to the left, I would have seen a whole other area.
Is that a dragon? Was that always here? Oh. 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 Oh.
After a few attempts to remember how fire works, I hate how fire works, I engaged in dragon combat, shortly followed by a familiar face.
You're finally awake.
Next was Grave of the Saints.
Oh, it's rats.
The boss of this area was pretty simple once you factor in the age-old Souls advice of just don't get hit, otherwise the petrifying rat bite will turn you into a statue. I was then allowed to pledge my allegiance to the best covenant ever made and become a servant of the Rat King.
I will serve you.
I didn't realize this decision would actually provide some beneficial speedrunning tech in areas to come. I kept descending the gutter, following the wooden structures and ladders deeper and deeper into the dark, dripping brown trash heap.
Dung pie. Oh, I'm really glad I've got that.
After navigating this ladder maze, I eventually arrived at Black Gulch. Black Gulch, I shall offer you one compliment and one compliment only. Your ability to assault the senses creates such an overstimulating environment in such a short space of time is truly marvellous. The build-up to this area is actually well executed. You find these strange statues that emit poison as you pass, and just before the fog wall leading to the new location, you encounter these identical statues, but this time glowing green. There's a faint beating sound in the gutter, and when you enter Black Gulch, it becomes louder and stronger, resembling a heartbeat in your head. Furthermore, you have this bioluminescent green illuminating a pitch-black underground cave. It's not too bad a sight to behold. That is where my praise concludes. The entire area is lined with these poison-spitting statues. They run all the way along the edges of the path you must run through. That alone wouldn't be so bad. No, that's just the foundation of the area. Further up the way are these pools of dark liquid from which these hand-like tentacle pulsating eyemaw enemies are. Trying to fight them without triggering the statues is chaos.
Ah, everywhere. There's nowhere to run. Oh god, oh lord.
I don't think you can venture too far before the wall-tunneling worms block your path or just throw you off the edge completely. Then, after all of this, you essentially have a wider area of exactly the same thing.
Oh, the whole area is just this. The whole area is just green statue, pool of hand-eye creature and worms. I think I've summed it up. I've played it for about 10 minutes and I think I've summed it up.
In fairness, this whole area is actually quite small and linear, so if you wish to sprint from the bonfire to the fog wall and defeat the boss, area finished, that is possible. But damn my free-spirited adventurous nature, I wanted to explore, and I felt that Black Gulch did not want me to do that.
Oh no, Woodland Child Victor! Who named you that? I just kill me.
Now, I did have 2 summons to keep me company while trekking through this area.
One's fine. Schmidt! Shoot. And who are you? Bash away! Oh my... This area is chaos. What is going on? Oh my god, I'm in hell!
They were helpful, though it's a pity I was the one who actually let the side down in the end.
Will not lie. Oh shit, I died.
Like before in No Man's Wharf, using a torch here is beneficial in Black Gulch. However, this area made me have a newfound appreciation for No Man's Wharf. It wasn't actually that bad. That area works with the darkness by rewarding progression and exploration. You gradually illuminate the area with sconces, making seeing the way on subsequent runbacks easier. Although No Man's Wolf's level design is considerably more extensive and winding, it does tell a story as you explore. Black Gulch's story seems to be, wouldn't it be funny if? I'm also frustrated that it has one of the most unintuitive hidden areas, requiring you to not only have a torch out, but to skim the edge of the cliff until you look directly down to find a platform that's previously hidden in the darkness and in a direction you wouldn't have been looking, and find a gap betwixt the poison statues. And what is my reward for this? Overstimulation.
How many giants would you like? 2, 3, 3. Schmidt is slowly dying. Schmidt is still here, but slowly dying to something. Schmidt's doing his best. I don't want him to do his best. I want him to go away. Like, chat, I know there's stuff down here. I know there's a lot of stuff here. There's 3 giants outside. I've got someone who's slowly killing himself, but not quite fast enough. I'm out of estimates. I have 14k souls on me. And there's poison everywhere. Look me in the eyes right now.
I'm a bit salty, okay. I'm allowed to be salty about one area, and I choose this one. The boss of this area, the Rotten, wasn't super challenging, but I did struggle to keep the NPC summon alive. They need to survive the encounter for you to progress their quest. It's one of those things.
Oh, Lucitil, no, don't die. Please don't die, Lucitil. Please don't die. 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 Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh, damn it. At least we died, right? Go, go, go. One more. One more. One more. You got the final hit. Good job, Lucitil. Yay!
The Door of Faros was an area I alluded to earlier when I mentioned that being part of the Rat Covenant would actually repay me in kind. As a result, all of the standard enemies here were in fact non-hostile, which took me a while to realise that I hadn't broken the game. There were in fact rat enemies here.
Oh my gosh, there are rats here. I didn't even notice.
And of course, my big rat boss, who was not friendly.
Pretty strong. Just don't get hit, right?
After collecting more rat tails as an offering to my rat king, I went to Brightstone Cove, Seldora.
I like your glasses, but I'm curious why you're wearing them like that. Ew! Freaky chest, freaky chest.
In fact, at the beginning there did seem to be a theme that chests are nothing but bait in this area. An unexpected boss fight actually occurred really early on in this area, and undoubtedly the easiest fight in the entire game, at least in my opinion. It was here for flavour, and to prepare you for this cult spider-worshipping collective. If you've played DS3, it does remind me a lot of a prototype Deacons of the Deep fight. Definitely quite a strange area, but it did feature a great NPC quest culmination. After progressing through 2 NPC storylines, you are thrust into the middle of their conflict and have to make a spur-of-the-moment life or death decision. Who are you going to side with, Creighton or Pate? I sided with Creighton, and it was very worthwhile.
You did me well. You did me well. You did me well. You did me well. It goes to my bubble dynamite.
You're where, sorry? Speaking of holes, there was also a sizable sandy hole here, and I fed it quite substantially. I died a lot in this area. Not only do we have the dune worm-looking quicksand, annoying mage spammers, a poorly positioned basilisk, an invader, and loads of spiders. Not to mention Ornifex, one of the main boss weapon vendors, is also positioned here, and every time I wanted to browse her stock, I had to perform, defending her house with everything I had. all that there was between us and the bloodthirsty horde outside was one paper-thin door.
Sorry, what were you saying? Would you mind? This is what happens when you break the door. I didn't break the door! I opened the door!
I'm really sorry, Omnifex. Anyway, I met Ray again, and I don't know what happened between our last encounter, but he had developed somewhat of a mean streak.
And you are? Oh, Ray! Ray, he doesn't want to fight! Ray! Oh, he's not putting up a fight. Ray, you're bullying him.
The boss of this area was also quite a sight to behold, and required a little bit more logic to defeat, instead of just spamming R1 indiscriminately. That's a self-dig, by the way. The Duke's dear Freya is a giant armoured spider with 2 heads. Tasked with defeating its young and dodging her sharp legs, I had to choose between its frosty Godzilla laser head or its chompy poison vomit head. These are your only 2 available weak spots when the other is not being shielded. It was a pretty good fight for a larger sized enemy model, and I'm delighted to see it will be returning in Elden Ring Night Rain. No, I will not carry you. The introduction to this next area is rather impressive. After burning down the windmill in Earthen Peak, you take a minute-long elevator ride up, 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 to God knows where. This place does have peak in its name. What could be higher than the top? I'd previously glimpsed the beginning of this area, but actually chose to return when I was better prepared, in full armour, chainmail and iron defense.
Are the stats any good though? You tell me, listen to this. It is not moving.
Now, I'd heard the name of this area in passing, and I can see why. It's not an exaggeration to say that when you step foot into this place, all of the enemies in the area sense your presence and will rush you from the entrance. The melee swordsmen are very aggressive, so after many attempts trying to traverse this place, I learned that letting the enemies come to you while trying to dodge the absolutely cracked archers was the best method.
Oh, you couldn't make that shot, there's no way. I'd like to go down the ladder, please. Thank you. Don't shoot me!
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realise how long it actually took me. The boss's door is right there, yet it took me around 1 hour to complete just this square. I don't know, maybe I was distracted by some external factor.
Has anyone said yet, you look like Frodo after he gets webbed up by Shelob? We are never doing this again. I hope you're all happy.
There was another chainmail stream. As a side note, I want to actually thank that member of the chat who made that incredibly accurate observation. If I am gone tomorrow, I am happy and flattered that will be my legacy. I was delighted to realise that this would be my run back every single time I failed to defeat the boss. With that as my motivation, I managed to take down the Smelter Demon eventually. The second half of the keep was quite the obstacle course. I'm going to be frank, I have no idea what the layout of this area was. Even after watching back the footage, I genuinely felt like this was part of an episode of Takeshi's Castle. I sped through this area and only had to navigate the maze portion twice before I reached a bonfire. I got very, very lucky.
Just the rim? You think I can do that? You think I can rim?
I had died more times at the entrance, which was just a straight line, so I can imagine having to do this any more times would drive anyone mad. What did drive me mad was the old Iron King. This boss fight was quite the spectacle, and markedly different with each attempt. As a melee user, you had to wait until the boss had some part of his body overhanging the small ledge, otherwise he was unreachable. On my first attempt, my luck had completely run out, and he only used ranged moves the entire attempt. My second attempt went much better, as he was gracious enough to offer me something that I could hit. Have I mentioned how much I dislike how fire works in this game?
Am I supposed to get in the lava? They want me to get in the...
I genuinely think that all of my deaths to this boss were not from combat, nor my HP reaching 0, but from falling off the outer ledge or the insidious hole at the back of the arena. Now, I enjoyed having O'Hara here as my summon, as she provided some good ranged cover when I was too busy flapping about trying not to die.
Oh my god, did he knock that?
With a few too many lucky saves and O'Hara vanquished, I managed to finish this boss off, resisting the urge to greed any longer. Draglair Castle is where the lore really ramps up. You get this fantastic exposition from a ghost named Chancellor Welliger. Some of the story beats in this game have insane similarities to Elden Ring, and after finishing it now, I understand why people often compare the two. As I explored the castle, I couldn't shake this unsettling feeling. Something just felt off. All of these petrified statues, strange faces, the two empty thrones, the enormous cursed painting of the Queen, and a girl trapped in a tower inside a cage with a chained person serving as the keyhole, that you shove a key into their keyhole.
Oh, this is messed up.
I battled two bosses here. One is among my personal favourites in the entire game. The other is another Dragon Rider.
God, 2 Dragon Riders. 2?
To be fair, one is perched above, shooting at you with ranged moves, while the other is very similar to your previous encounter with Dragon Rider. It's pretty much the same moveset, and eventually the ranged one does come down and join you. 2 Dragon Riders. In any case, the actual boss fight note has great build-up. As you explore the castle, you get these gilded frames decorating the walls. Despite not offering active reflections, these are mirrors. Wink, wink. I'm foreshadowing. Subsequently, you descend an elevator shaft lined with more of these mirrors and arrive at the truly cinematic King's Passage. A storm rumbles outside, with flashes of light briefly illuminating the long corridor. Peering out of the window, you see the icy rain blowing inside. The guards at the boss door come alive. Roundhouse kicking, horse-headed statuemen. There's some nice chess piece symbolism here. And then the boss itself, a shiny, mirror-wielding, looking-glass knight that you fight in this torrential downpour. Beautiful and blasphemous enemy design. The combat mechanics of this boss are really fun, as it crashes down the large mirror shield, flattening anyone nearby in just 2 frames. Additionally, it also spawns mirror beings that smash forth from the glass. My chat actually informed me that if you play online, this boss can summon invaders as mirror squires. But even if you're playing offline, you still get to fight NPC counterparts, which was super thematic. The next infamous area was a name I'd also heard around, and it was cutely foreshadowed by the big tree.
Big fantasy tree.
Now, let me get straight to the point. I didn't hate Shrine of Amana. The area looks stunning. This underground lake with a canopy of gnarled roots twisting endlessly towards the sky, and rich, beautiful singing filling the air.
Can you sing like that for us? Take it easy, there's nothing you can do. Turn around. Every now and then I'm gonna do it. Oh, but now I'm back. Walk out the door. I've got the king's ring. I don't need to be human anymore. I'll buy your name.
However, to be fair, people dislike this area not because of its appearance. Its appearance is deceiving, much like the siren song that you hear. The first section is relatively relaxed, easing you into the notion that the waters here are dangerous, creatures lurking in the dark depths. Although the area may seem wide and spacious, inviting more exploration, that is a fallacy. If you take a moment to look down, you may spot the steep drop-off into the murky waters, which will cause your character to succumb to the great generational soul's weakness. Mino can swim, but this wasn't too much of a problem for me at first. The path was relatively linear, and having practiced the enemy aggro range at Iron Keep, I proceeded slowly and let them come to me. You don't chase. Then the less enjoyable aspects emerge. Unpleasant gas clouds that broke your equipment and heat-seeking magic spam. As I played the Scholar version of the game, it seems like they had actually adjusted some of the enemy AI in this area compared to the vanilla version. Previously, it looked like the enemies cast their magic much earlier and faster. Not to mention, the area also seemed to be a lot darker in the original, compared to now where the light source and glow seems to help guide you more clearly to the safe path, and the casters do relent slightly. So I didn't find this area particularly challenging on my first run to the boss. Taking a patient, methodical approach and not rushing proved rewarding. Don't get me wrong, I can understand how one might fall down the edge here if you weren't expecting it. If you wanted to explore freely or you were just trying to power through the area. I mean, my summons didn't exactly grasp the concept that you could fall off.
What?
What I did struggle with was my repeated nemesis, Big Bonk Stick. The reveal of this area's boss, appropriately named Demon of Song, was also pretty great. Previously, when you heard singing, you found the source shortly after, and it would be some lovely young ladies called Milfinitos. But this time, when you pass the fog wall, you get greeted with this half frog, half shrunken head, part walnut thing. The way this thing moved and sounded really gave me a visceral reaction.
Just kiss the froggy, it might become a cute person. I'm not willing to make that sacrifice.
Much like the Duke's dear Freya, this boss also has a specific weak spot, with the rest of its body being armoured. So much like this area, you also had to be patient, waiting for it to unsheath, unhood, Seaman of Dong. Upon arriving at the entrance of the crypt, I was reunited with Kevin.
It's Kevin! Kevin's here! Nice to see you. Oh my god.
However, that reunion was once again cut short for some reason.
Naughty Kevin. Other Kevin, I'm so sorry.
To progress through this area, you had to break through the rocks to reach these frozen carbon statues.
Ooh, the high ground is mine. Anakin, whatever he said.
And don't get me started on what happened if you accidentally hit the bell.
Oh. I did not want to hit that. Vanishing crystal never disappears? What? I can't hear you over the bells, Jeff. What was that? Stop! Scarlet, stop ringing the fucking bell!
Then, when I finally started playing properly, the game decided to toy with me even more.
Who's ringing the bell? Was it you? It was you, little troll. You little so-and-so.
I really enjoyed that period where the bells stopped ringing for the 5 minutes that it lasted. Ooh.
Oh.
It wasn't the most enjoyable area to explore, with the darkness and the bells just overstimulating toll on my senses. And this area is the run back to the boss.
We should explore. Fuck that.
I would be safe from the bells there, right? Right?
Oh, he's got a bell!
Velstadt is a truly fantastically designed boss. He is that guy. Once again, Dark Souls 2 does a marvellous job of building up anticipation for the boss you'll face in relation to the area. I gave Velstadt a couple of attempts solo. He was pretty tough, definitely a difficulty spike, and ultimately I summoned Agadine, the NPC associated with this area, mostly because he was just a chill guy. Even though he helped me defeat Velstadt, looking back, I wish I had attempted a few more times solo, because I feel like I probably would have got him eventually in the end. Just those bells were driving me crazy. What awaited me beyond Velstadt was something I really didn't expect. I'm going to issue a spoiler warning here for those who haven't played the game or don't know this part of the plot. Please feel free to fast forward to the next chapter, because this reveal is one of the main twists and major turning point in Dark Souls 2. I'll be honest, story-wise, the game does have a slow start. You get these breadcrumbs of the world and the characters, but at this point I was nearing the halfway mark of the game, and my main objective had remained the same. Search for the king, seek the king, meet the king, the last king of this land, King Fendrick. After 40 hours of playtime, this meeting was becoming increasingly anticipated. I had high expectations of this Vendrick character. I was banking on either an epic NPC lore dump or an equally monumental boss battle. It turned out to be neither of those.
Is that the king?
Pacing aimlessly, you see this giant towering figure, unable to summon the strength to lift their sword off the ground. The grinding noises of metal on stone as they stagger, listless in circles. The hollow pays no attention to your presence. In the back of the crypt sits a pile of robes, doffed equipment, and a crushing pop-up on screen that says, "Alas, nothing happened," as you pick up the King's Ring, solidifying who this poor soul once was.
Oh man. That made me really sad.
This moment really hit me, especially with this music playing in the background. It starts with a couple of piano notes, inspiring similar feelings to those one might have felt on Gwyn's reveal in Dark Souls 1. The music then moves into different instruments to evoke a lonely, melancholy feeling, or twisting into the dread at your current predicament. Well, I'm sad now. Try to say the word seaman again. In all seriousness, this was one of the most memorable moments from my time playing Dark Souls 2, and from here on out, the game really ramps up in terms of story. Once you acquire the King's Ring, you can unlock previously inaccessible areas. I first ventured to Aldea's Keep, where I'd heard whispers of the twisted experiments being conducted here, yet it was nothing like what I anticipated. And the moment you step inside, you get this incredibly bizarre yet sinister atmosphere. A giant dragon skeleton loomed over the staircase, which later came to life, simultaneously jump-scaring and one-shotting you if you hadn't heavily invested into Vigor, like I had.
We're not playing this game on easy mode. I don't know what gave you that impression. Don't look at my vigor.
A long corridor that, when fully illuminated, reveals all of these various caged horrors you've encountered throughout the game overhead, and a distillation room filled with the foulest concoctions known to man.
Oh, Lewis, okay. My monster drink collection.
Clearly this Aldea character has issues.
What kind of experiment is that? Let's put some doggies in acid. What will happen?
I enjoyed the concept of this area, a collection of creatures locked up, even though their security was at times questionable.
Now you're...
You missed the lever?
What lever? Oh, thank you, Chet. Jesus. Oh god! Is this like a jailbreak scene? Are we going to break everyone out? Oh! Why do I say things?
After what felt like an eternity, about 2 hours, I finally reached the end of the corridor to see what lay beyond this mysterious closed door.
Another hippo!
Anyway, the actual reveal was worth it for the view. Shortly after, one of Aldea's most prized possessions seems to be a captured dragon, which sadly wasn't much of a challenge. All in all, this was not a bad dragon fight. It's not time to talk about that one yet. Anyway, speaking of dragons, after another elevator ride to the sky, the reveal for this area was truly breathtaking.
Oh my god.
Visually, it's hands down probably my favourite dragon-themed area in all of Souls games. Frown Azula is spectacular, don't get me wrong, but to me that area is less about the dragons and more about this crumbling ancient civilization floating in the heart of a storm. The dragons there feel more like they're part of the skybox than the environment, apart from when you're actually fighting. In Dragon Airy, not only do you feel like the dragons are flying around you, but they come so close it feels like you could reach out and touch them. You get this euphoric feeling here watching them hang out, take a little nap, and even frolic and play with you. Now, this is a cool area to look at and zipline through, but actually exploring it is pretty painful. Quite literally for my inventory.
Hello, buddy. No, my ring!
The enemies here are the item-breaking stinky boys. Because of these guys, I had to pay so much for repair costs. They ambush you, they run and jump at you, hearing that little jingle-jangle of their chains, I break out in a cold sweat.
Oh, another one! No! My gauntlets!
But as I said, you don't actually need to explore this area fully, you just have to cross the bridge to safety.
What? Ooh! Ooh!
The camera switches to this almost over-the-shoulder angle.
What is going on?
As I carefully inched across, to my shock, a dragon blocked the way.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
After which this creature parried me twice with their mind, and then collapsed the bridge and I fell and died.
You gotta be quick with it. You took too long. It was wobbly. I was trying. You must have broken an egg. What? No, I didn't.
After my chat had finished gaslighting me, thank you chat, I made it across this bridge safely by spamming roll. Checking this in post now, it seems that the more dragon eggs you destroy in a single attempt, the shorter you have to cross the bridge before it collapses. But I didn't destroy any eggs. Guys, why are we fighting dragons and destroying their eggs, by the way? Only a fool would do such a thing.
Don't hit the dragon. Don't hit the eggs. Oh my.
The second segment plays much smoother, but the flavour is still very strong. As you ascend the stairs to the Dragon Shrine, you get these checkpoints whereby these resplendent dragon knights greet you before a large armoured boy will start approaching. This was quite an immersive mechanic, the respect between warriors to earn the right to continue to the shrine by defeating these different weapon-wielding enemies, one of whom was all too familiar.
Oh my god, he's got a bum toxic. This is my nightmare.
The final stretch to the peak is quite something. A large staircase flanked with multiple dragon knights and presumably their strongest dragon warrior at the top. And when vanquished, you are granted audience with the ancient dragon as your reward.
Hello. Talk. My brain.
The dragon's telepathic communication was a little bit unnerving, and my chat seemed intent on me not trusting this creature despite my protest.
Hit him? No. Kill him? No. Cat, what's wrong with you? What's got into you? You may want something he drops? I'm sure. You can say that for everything. You could say that about everyone, and in real life. That doesn't mean you should do it, though. What do you drop? Don't. Hey.
Anyway, they give you the ability to delve into memories. All of those little pop-up boxes from earlier that say, alas, nothing happened, despite clearly depicting that something did indeed happen, are now available for you to relive these past events in question. I absolutely love this feature. What an insane way of telling a story. Having witnessed the aftermath, you get to see what happened before. But you're not just a passive observer, you actively take part in these memories. Characters will acknowledge your presence, and your actions in the dream will affect the future. I understand now when people talk about the timeline of DS2, it's a mess, but it's a good kind of mess. It's very Inception-like, and I think in some way, trying not to fully unravel it makes it better. Because there are some crazy reveals when discovering the truth this way. One of my favourite memories was reliving the war with the giants. Once again, great way of doing story. In Souls games, it's pretty common to talk about wars that happened in the past, and you always get the exposition in item descriptions, or maybe a bit in an opening cutscene if you're lucky, but being able to see it and play it in the game is quite rare. It's not easy to do a well-done war sequence in a fantasy game. It can be a little hit or miss, except for games dedicated solely to that, like the Total War franchise, for example. So in DS2, you get these smaller scale, but more concentrated scenes that show you snippets of this war, the attack on Drangleic, and it's done perfectly. Giants fighting soldiers, giants being catapulted over the castle walls, statues breaking, which is an amazing callback to one of the first areas you explore, now revealing why the stone head is where it is, and the giant lord fight.
Oh my. Oh.
Oh my goodness, I adore this character model. What an absolute beast. There can be a tendency to go for simple with the larger scale of a giant's character model, favouring some sort of cobbled together armour or even being barely clothed. But to see a giant in robes with a crown and an equally sized giant sword effectively conveys the importance of this character. It's also nice that they continue this design into Dark Souls 3 with Yorn. It is much more humanizing and fear-inducing. Now, the actual fight with the Giant Lord can be a little bit annoying, primarily because of the run back. Because, reminder, there is a war going on here. So, of course, trying to dodge the flaming volleys, rolling head, and other giants can be a little bit messy. And of course, he is a giant, so he is susceptible to feat gameplay, but I really liked him. I actually used my first bonfire aesthetic here. To my understanding, it allows you to reset the area. You can fight the area boss again, and it resets various enemies' consumables in exchange for increasing the difficulty. Essentially, it makes that specific area New Game Plus without you starting Journey 2. That makes sense. So I used it to fight the Giant Lord again, alongside the other NPC summon to complete their quest, since I could only summon one at a time and I wanted to finish both of their quests. Anyway, I will put another spoiler warning here about another twist, so skip to the next chapter in this video to avoid that. When you read the Giant Lord's soul description, you discover something terribly familiar about his circumstances. A giant who conquered Drangleic. One might say a giant lord who brought ruin to an entire kingdom. There are many similarities between the description of the Giant Lord and that of the Last Giant, one of the very first bosses you encounter in the game. It suggested that the Last Giant, imprisoned beneath the Forest of the Giants, is there because of you. You fought him as the Giant Lord, and once beaten and broken, he was dragged away and sealed as punishment. You are the unknown warrior who felled a giant king, the last remaining surviving giant, only to be confronted again when you encounter him in his prison. Upon seeing your face, he becomes enraged, remembering what you did to him. However, you are unaware of this at that moment. You haven't yet relived the memory. To him, he is recalling the past, but for you, this memory remains unseen until you experience it in the future. As I mentioned, timelines. However, this was a really nice lore moment, and it was very satisfying to get an explanation as to why that first boss behaved as it did. Anyway, he shouldn't be angry with us, he should be angry at Vendrick. He was the one who tried to conquer the giants. Speaking of Vendrick, my chat advised me to go visit the dear king and alleviate his suffering.
I got look. Did he take any damage? So I'm trying to put you out of your misery. You're making this.
I didn't realise this then, but the number of giant souls you've collected across the game directly affects Vendrick's toughness. I had collected 4 at this point, yet this man still had a remarkably high HP pool and hit like a truck. So it wasn't necessarily the quickest act of mercy I could have afforded him, but rather a good final honourable battle, with his sad OST playing throughout. And of course, despite Vendrick's present hollow body being put to rest, you can still visit him in his prime in the memory, and that's a more fitting way for me to remember him by anyway. Whilst finishing some miscellaneous tasks, my chat suggested that I revisit a particular gentleman in a chair who had popped up a few times. Little did I know this would be one of my biggest downfalls. So here is your objective for completing this quest. Join Covenant, give human effigy, go through portal, defeat all enemies, light sconce, exit area. Do this for each of the 3 dark chasms. 3 sconces lit? Sounds pretty straightforward.
So you want to be a software engineer? Go to boot.dev, make a free account, write some code, run the code. Oh, it fails. Ask Boot for help. He helps. Change the code. Run it again. Ah, it still fails. Finally figure it out. Complete the rest of the full backend developer learning path.
Ooh. Sorry, it was a bit dark.
So once I realised a torch is pretty much compulsory to see the multiple environmental hazards in the area, I also had to deal with many different enemy variants as well, featuring filthy dex users, magic users, and some familiar faces.
Hey, buddy. Is that Havel?
Now, the Drangleic Castle variant was the one I would become most acquainted with. Something about the layout and the specific enemies here really got to me mentally.
Oh, this is a terrible place to fight. Okay, that's fair. Right, everyone form an orderly queue. We're going to choke point it. I haven't had a worse idea than this in a while. It's been a long while.
Whenever you want to open the portal to go to a dark chasm, it will cost you 1 human effigy. So every time you die, you need to reopen the portal again. Each attempt is 1 effigy. And I found it took me the longest to clear this particular variant and light its sconce. And with all that, all sconces, all 3 of them were lit. So we're done, right?
Did I do it? Did I beat the game?
What I didn't know is there is one more part to this quest. You unlock an optional but formidable boss, Dark Lurker. Now this Angel of Death has a great moveset and challenging second phase, and what I'm really gutted about is that my first attempt with this boss was the best attempt I've ever done in my life. And after that it all went downhill. This is me, happy, blissfully unaware of what is to come.
I'm firing my laser!
This is me later. So remember how I was talking about paying the human effigy tax to open the portal? Well, despite having lit 3 sconces and now having access to the boss, you still must clear the area for the fog wall to lift and get to said boss. You don't just open the portal and go straight there, no shortcut. But in fairness, you do get to choose which of the 3 run-back variants you'd like to do, as now all of them will automatically lead to the boss at the end. I picked the Shaded Ruins run-back first, but realised I hated this one. There are 3 enemies in a small room, and you have this lift that you have to keep calling back, and this is where I began to panic.
It's bad. Oh, it's bad. Piece of work. Oh, I'm hitting the wall. I'm bad. I'm bad. I'm so bad at this game. You are so cringe.
Yeah, and that human effigy count was starting to look a bit low. After struggling through, I finally got to the boss, but at this point my mind was fried. I was thinking about the horrible run back I would have to do. I was thinking about my almost first try attempt, and most of all, this was the last human effigy that I had. So if I didn't beat Dark Lurker in this attempt, I didn't know what I was going to do.
Whatever happens, the stream will end. Damn it. Damn it.
I went to bed that night, and visions of this boss kept me awake. The next day, I had no sleep, no effigies, no motivation to fight Dark Lurker. Instead, I decided to start one of the 3 DLCs. Following my chat's advice, I started with Crown of the Sunken King. The initial vista is incredible, this pyramid temple structure deep underground, and an immediate encounter with a honk-shooing dragon.
Hey, buddy. Oh god. I just wanted to talk. Can we talk?
Flies away into the distance, but before you can catch up to it, you must navigate the vertical maze that is Shulva. Right after I turned the corner, I was ambushed, I was ganked, I was quickly reminded of the difficulty spike in DLC content.
It's difficult. The DLC is difficult. Difficult. It's difficult.
Regular enemies hit hard and seem to have a much higher poise. Plus, I was completely lost. This wouldn't be the last time I would get lost. This sunken stone crypt was exceptionally difficult to traverse, so after failing to brute force my way through, I switched tactics and returned to my reliable claymore, which made combat easier. Now I just needed to work on my sense of direction.
Allegedly. Oops. Mind the gap. Dragon! Thanks, buddy. He's my friend.
After another brief dragon sighting, I entered the Dragon Sanctum, where eerie singing filled the air. And if I know anything about beautiful singing, I know that I'll be in for a treat when I find the source. The goal of this section is to find and push these stone switches. However, because the visual design of this area is stone, monochrome, stone on stone, I found it really challenging to locate these buttons, especially as some are out of sight, like on the ceiling. And at this point I realised why people suggested using a bow for this DLC. It makes navigating much faster. But I was being particularly stubborn and wanted to see how much I could achieve without one, because I don't know how to use a bow.
Fire! 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 Did I do it? There we go. God.
So getting through this area took much longer than it should have. Every room looked the same, apart from the occasional feature of, ooh, this is stone wall pit with spikes, and ooh, this is stone wall pit with bugs, or ghosts, or all of the above. The ghostly enemies can be quite scary, as they have a decent HP pool and can easily overwhelm you. However, they do have an interesting trick. Eventually you find their original resting place, and upon destroying it, they turn corporeal permanently, becoming much easier to fight. Unfortunately, their graves are actually quite deep into the area, or at least it took me quite a while to locate them, so by the time you get there, you won't really have to go back and worry about the ghosts anymore. Actually, you know what? Any of the things I'm criticising here can just be chalked up to a skill issue. Ignore everything I just said, but don't ignore this.
Oh, there's a switch up there. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a shot off with these guys here. Let's no scope it. Yeah. Oh, did I hit it? You're joking. You've never seen tech like this.
Anyway, after I finally made some progress, I reached an area called Cave of the Dead. For reference, each DLC includes a co-op section where you could summon your friends to take on a challenging area with a boss at the end. What a cute idea. This one in particular was affectionately given the nickname Red Gulch, and I'm sure you can guess what that might entail. You can do these areas solo or use the NPC summons for those playing offline, and your reward at the end, a trio fight. As these areas were entirely optional, I decided to revisit them later. Don't worry, I didn't rage quit. I would never do that.
What am I doing? It's terrible. Why am I trying to outpull myself?
I ventured deeper into the sanctum and finally encountered a boss, the source of some of the singing. This truly unique and haunting figure stood before a giant, beautiful mural depicting what we'd been building up to, a dragon. I found Alana to be quite a fun fight, as she launches various kinds of magic at you, with her major move being summoning. This is partly an RNG fight. Alana can summon different enemy types to aid her, ranging from a horde of golden skeletons to an all too familiar Golden Bell Man, Velstat himself. It was hard to decide whether to ignore these summons and go straight for Alana, or to try and deal with them, especially when she summons an entirely different boss. The run can be ruined by what she chooses to summon here. Yeah, you really don't want to see that guy again. He will not let you get close to her.
You're joking me. Ah, come on! Please! Get it together, woman!
Well, because she was allowed to summon, then I chose to summon as well. However, 2 summons significantly increased her health, so I decided to just bring Benny along in the end, as I needed him to survive the entire encounter for his quest to continue. Then something rather cool happened. Out of the dark portals came not skeletons, but this.
Piggies? Rare piggies?
Apparently there is a very rare chance that Alana can summon piggies. The great thing about them is that they pose no threat whatsoever. They're slow, dawdling and tiny, so you can simply run around and ignore them. I was quite lucky with this here. I just had to worry about not dying from magic and keeping Benny alive.
Regen faster. Yes, target me, not Benny. Benny, hit her! Yes, Benny! Let's go. Let's go, Benny!
After defeating Alana, you pretty much go straight into the next and final fight of this DLC.
Goodness.
Sin is a pretty angry dragon, and rightly so. His fight mainly consists of him charging, dive bombing, and you having to avoid the danger clouds. I soon discovered that it wasn't poison, but something worse. I did a solo attempt with a bright bug, maximizing my damage because Sin doesn't like sitting still, and I wanted to do as much damage while he was grounded.
Just blindly swing. We'll get him.
And with that, one DLC was done. Apart from the time wasted wandering around, this was a pretty short DLC with some pretty alright bosses. But it would only get better from here.
Ooh. It's a bit cold here. It's not snow. It's ash. Or something else.
Another atmospheric view sets the tone and story for the second DLC, Crown of the Iron King. The gimmick of this area is to avoid or destroy the Ashen Idols using a specific item. Do so, otherwise they will continue to empower nearby enemies or just be a fiery nuisance. This place is kind of wacky. Strange enemies behaving strangely.
What? 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 What is that?
My first obstacle was this nightmare room. It consisted of 3 melee warriors, 1 ranged attacker at reach, 3 barrel boys who wandered aimlessly and added to the chaos, 1 giant with a flaming shoulder, and of course an idol far in the back that was buffing them.
What is the strategy here? How do I approach this? Because I feel like I'm not.
After many embarrassing deaths while trying to time the limited iframes in this game, I managed to destroy the idol.
No, not the thing, the other thing.
Then it was simply a matter of how on earth I was going to clear this room to open the big doors.
The boys! Go, boys! Go! You're confusing them? They're confusing me!
My chat suggested sending in the boys first on a special mission to carry their explosive powder into the fire-spewing larger enemy.
Oh, that one's going. Go! Go, my son. You're doing it. Just a little bit more. Stay there. No, don't move.
Eventually the stars aligned, and by the skin of my teeth, we managed to clear the room and continue in peace. Using the barrel boys made areas much easier and delightfully chaotic.
There's a boy left. No boy left behind.
This place needs a health and safety inspection. Each sub-area seemed to follow the theme of let's give the player some form of incendiary object or enemy to deal with.
I'll just leave you gentlemen to it. Ooh, don't mind if I...
This DLC ramped up when you stoke the fires of the Central Tower's lift, giving you a couple of choices about where you wanted to go next. I jumped up and entered Iron Passage, the second of the co-op areas.
Wait, is this better or worse than the other one? Worse? Worse? Surely not.
Welcome to Fat Cave, as I called it. You have 2 paths in this area. Pulling the lever opens up a shortcut for a couple of seconds, but also unleashes a horde of previously imprisoned enemies.
Coming through. Coming through.
No! Alternatively, you can jump down and take the lower, slightly longer path, leaving you at the mercy of this guy.
That's very nice. What am I doing? Am I fat? Did he make me fat? He made me fat.
Technically, the spell describes it as slow walking speed, but it essentially made me feel as if I was fat rolling. So rushing through this area, in slow motion, while clumsily dodging everything being thrown at me, proved quite difficult.
Why do I get hit by the fat smell? Smell? Smell. I was nowhere near him. Just a general AoE fatness. Oh, I'm pitiful. No. You're fine. Everything's fine.
And my chat seemed set on driving me insane.
I can't believe you finished Elden Ring. There was no fat spell in that game. If there was a fat spell, I wouldn't have finished the game. I'm fat and I'm being watched. Do you know what's... Do you have any idea what that's like? I'm playing Dark Souls 2, I'm fat, I'm alone. Everyone's watching me. I would like to see you do better. There's another Smelter Demon! And he's blue!
And once again, Blue Smelter Demon was added to the list of things I'll return to later because I can't deal with you right now. List. At this point, my sanity was gone entirely. I was running around lost, dying foolishly over and over, to nothing.
Sorry. Why are we back here? Oh, I'm actually giving myself brain damage. You know what? Just end me.
In some miracle, I finally made it to my next challenge. But of course, I couldn't find the bonfire.
There was a room on your right? I'm sure there was. I believe you. I so believe you. But I also... I'm this close. The bar has never been there for achieving a goal in this stream. We haven't done any bosses. We just got to bonfire and celebrating.
Anyway, this next place had quite the aura to it. 4 ashen idols were placed outside this ashen dome, which took me way too long to realise that whatever was inside here would be getting buffed fourfold. Here I met my biggest challenge yet, and maybe even the entire game, Fume Knight. Up until this point, I found that bosses in Dark Souls 2 were relatively straightforward in their movesets, typically having one main move that you had to deal with. Fume Knight, on the other hand, was a definite step up in terms of combat prowess and complexity.
Oops. 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 Oh god. Oh god, I've never been more embarrassed.
In his left hand, he wields a colossal greatsword. He can do massive sweeping attacks around him or just swat at you with insane speed. The weapon doesn't have that much build-up. He swings it as if it weighs nothing. In his right hand, he brandishes a long, sharp blade that can pierce and skewer you faster than you'll expect. I was getting two-shot by this boss. It definitely took me a while to learn the timing of his greatsword especially.
Oof. Okay. Oh my god. When will I ever learn the heavy attack? Never.
So I popped an effigy and decided to be patient and do the classic gathering intel attempt, where you observe the boss, learn all their possible animations, and where your punish windows are, at least for phase 1. With that little bit of extra HP, some luck, and locking in, I started to get it.
It's so cool. Sweep. Okay.
Then at the halfway mark, he did this.
Oh god. I felt it. My heart.
Now my chat informed me as to something rather interesting about this boss. If you equipped a specific helmet for this fight, it would actually change the encounter. For spoiler reasons, I won't reveal why. However, if you chose to wear this helmet, it would instantly put Fume Knight into his second phase right from the start. I'd been practicing phase 1 up until this point and had just begun to get the hang of it. Now it felt as if I was back at square one in terms of progression, having to learn a new phase with new moves. And the one thing I thought I was good at was dodging the smaller, faster sword. Well, forget all about that. Fume Knight uses only his greatsword in Phase 2, a powered-up version no less, wielding it in both hands to do broader, stronger attacks.
Oh, that move. It's... What am I doing? Back away from the... What? Oh, it's got the balls! The little balls got to me. Move is such... I will like to emit my flames stronger and further now, please. You know who I am. I am the Goon Knight, Hand of the King.
As much as I appreciated that they included a feature like this, and yes, it did give me a chance to see what Phase 2 had to offer without needing to get him all the way to half, I realised that having Fume Knight in Phase 2 mode for the entire fight wasn't going to work for me. The cursed chainmail was beginning to get to me, as I could no longer dodge the greatsword in Phase 1 anymore. There was a brief second wind where I felt like I was ever so slowly getting the hang of Phase 2. I just had 2 more moves to learn. The slow fire sweep.
Oh. I hate that move.
And the balls.
Balls, don't forget balls. Don't forget his tiny balls. Little balls! Tiny balls. Tiny balls of fire. Minuscule. Withered. Prunes. Prunes! Shriveled up. I'm just thinking about putting on a t-shirt. And eating some cheese. And not having to think about Fume Knight's tiny, shriveled.
I ended the stream with no bosses completed. I turned my sights to an old friend. You didn't think I'd forgotten about you, did you? Dark Lurker. The only thing holding me back before was my limited amount of effigies. So I did a little bit of grinding off stream. With a couple more levels, I also respec slightly to grant me more HP and strength, to reveal who I really was. I also decided to use the Drangleic Castle version of the run back, and had much better attempts at getting through to the boss.
Get in the hole, please get in the hole. Yes! Yes! Get in the hole.
However, once again, I succumbed to fire, this time at the hands of a different boss.
Oh, double fire. Not my favourite. Not quite my tempo. That's fine. I was yapping!
The Naked Gamer strut returned, but this time with one special modification.
Put on a goofy hat.
This silly hat somehow became the key to my lucky run. Dark Lurker's second phase didn't trigger until a quarter of its health was left. And as I promised my chat, I would finish the game wearing the silly hat. Now back to Fume Knight. Feeling much more confident and lighter, I got into the flow of fighting this boss, finding it much easier to dodge the greatsword, which had previously been my biggest weakness. What remained was one thing.
The balls! Balls! Move away from the balls. No! No! I got confused! Why did he stagger? He gave me false hope.
I'm not gonna lie, this was a rather lucky attempt. The slightly late phase 2, the massive random crits from my gauntlets, the stagger. I felt like I'd actually learnt a lot, developed a style that worked to my strengths, and, improved enough to take down the boss. This victory felt so good, and Fume Knight definitely solidified himself as one of my favourite bosses in Dark Souls 2.
Now let's do it again!
Surely nothing would come close to that, right? There was also one more boss in this DLC, optional, but quite legendary and worth doing. If you recall earlier when I spoke about entering memories, you know one cannot reside within memory for long. Yeah, let's put a time limit on a boss run back. And also, here is your boss run back. In fairness, I believe the time limit for this area is much longer than in those previous memories, allowing you to explore the area in a much more relaxed manner than what I was doing. I also think that once you enter the boss fog wall, the timer also stops, or the time they give you is just really, really comfortable. But this is rational Chalice speaking. This is in the moment gamer Chalice.
Oh god, the Samurai King. Down? We're going down? Let's go. We're going down. They won't follow me down. Okay, never mind.
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words, create your brand, your opportunity, your breakthrough. Add solutions that meet you where you are and take you where you want to go. Wix.
Once I saw the boss, it made this run back worth it.
Oh, who should polish the floors? They look great. This guy is cool. Oh, I'm dead. That's fine. That's fine. That's the classic first try attempt.
In fairness, defeating this boss on my first attempt would have been disrespectful. He feels excellent to fight against. Although less flashy than Fume Knight, fighting Cerulon was all about the distance and angle of his trusty sword. However, if you are hit by one of his particular moves, he actually gets empowered.
Oh, now we know what that animation looks like. Oh, it empowers his sword. Oh, it. He coats his sword with your blood. Gets a gatincho.
The run back was also beginning to wear on me. If you make one mistake while rushing to this boss, it's really hard to come back. If you get hit even once, you will likely be ganged up on and die.
What is wrong with this area? This is the worst memory ever. This is a terrible memory. I wish to forget.
I was getting a little tired, but happy with my progress for the day, so I wanted to try again fresh the next day.
Oh, the jump. I'm not used to that. Get to that Gatincho. Oops. Punished for being enemy.
It wasn't perfect, but by being patient, and I mean really patient, this fight attempt lasted a considerable time, nearly 5 whole minutes of solid concentration. The methodical trading of blows back and forth, and also learning how to do a quick follow-up, managed to clutch me a win at only 20 minutes into my new stream. With that, the second DLC was done. Honestly, a fantastic DLC. It had really good area theming, excellent bosses, and great lore revelations as well. But there was some unfinished business I had to attend to back in Crown of the Sunken King, the Gank Squad. Taking along my 2 summons, we were in a much better position for a fair 3v3.
I'll be down here if anyone needs me. Right, one last. Nice. Ah! Oh! I'll be right there, guys. I'll be right there.
We managed to take these 3 down, and I must say the reward was definitely worth it.
I'm not ready. Oh my goodness, a flower skirt! Oop. Hello.
Then I very briefly returned to Fat Cave.
Come chase me. I'm a fat butterfly. I'm just a fat butterfly. Nobody wants me.
Before starting the 3rd final DLC, Crown of the Ivory King. And what a great start it had.
Yes, ma'am. a lady in the DRC tells you to turn back, you should probably listen to her.
I really enjoyed the frozen enemy designs. The area itself is a little hard to see at first, but it does kind of look like this for the first part. On top of that, you have to fight some invisible enemies.
Oh, I can't see him. Oh no. Oh. There he comes. I see your health bar, sir.
However, not for long. You get this special eye which allows you to see the unseen, revealing them as enemies wearing the Elite Knight set. Very curious. With this new sight, my chat advised me to return to the entrance and see what awaited me. As a side note, when I first stepped into the DLC and so much as looked in the direction of this boss door, I was immediately told to go back. And I listened, because I'm good and do what I'm told. But apparently if you don't heed this advice and go to the boss before getting the eye, you won't see anything. You will fight an invisible enemy model. But with the eye, it is revealed to be Big Kitty.
I'm so dead. Oh my god, I was riding it. Okay, I can't do that. You can't dodge under the boss.
As I mentioned, my tactic of trying to get under the boss was not working out, nor did standing anywhere in front of the boss. This boss simply didn't want me near it at all. The hitboxes were quite punishing. After reuniting with Glencore, my trusty summon, I had him distract the boss for a bit while I learned how to dodge through the attacks, and eventually we took down the kitty, Kitty number 1. The story you encounter upon entering the cathedral and discovering why Alien Lois is frozen is really top-notch. Upon agreeing to help free the Ivory King, parts of the previously frozen area were lifted so we can now assist. Thus, you can now backtrack to unlock things like chests, enemies and paths that were previously blocked, frozen. Also, the way to the final boss is now open. However, I didn't realise that's what that was when I jumped into it.
Oh! Hey buddy. Oh my god, it's hell!
I was listening to what this NPC was telling me, but I hadn't quite pieced together what it entailed yet. Essentially, all the knights who pursued their king succumbed to chaos. That's what these darker armoured enemies represent. You can either charge straight in with this lone knight here, or backtrack through Alien Lois to find up to 3 other knights to join you. You don't have to gather them all, just as many as you wish or can be bothered to find. They are immensely helpful in preparation for this final boss. So off I went to find the knights, stopping occasionally to pick up things I'd missed. I also secured the final piece of armour to fit my fancy hat, crit gloves, oignon and high heels look. I had found 3 out of 4 knights, and although some said this was technically enough to do the final boss, I wanted to discover where the final knight was. All I had to do was conquer my incredibly challenged sense of direction.
I know what I'm doing. What am I doing? This is the wrong way.
It's crazy that now there is so much improved visibility in Alien Lois, I still seem to be struggling even more about where to go. Eventually my chat helped hold my hand to go to the place I had somehow missed multiple times. It was right in front of me. It was here that I met a friend. What I didn't know while I was fumbling around was that this character was yet another example of Dark Souls 2 trying to trick the player. Much like back in the Shaded Woods, he was meant to look like a player, and honestly his programming is excellent and believable.
Welcome. Welcome, why am I saying welcome? He lives here. She doesn't know? Oh, clearly I don't. This is me in any social interaction, in fairness. Oh! Oh! Hey! That's not very nice. Keep your hands to yourself. Really makes me... Oh! So if you be friendly to him, he will walk with you until you pull the lever, which then he will instantly backstab you and shrug.
Funnily enough, this isn't the only time you come across this guy. He's actually in the Iron King DLC, I just happened to miss him the first time as I didn't venture into that area. He clearly appears as a red invader there, but This time, he hides behind a wall, waiting for you to loot the chest first. Although I didn't fall for his initial trick, he then runs down the stairs, baiting you to fight him amongst the enemies being buffed by an Ashen Idol and being caught in a curse aura. What a rat, and even when revenge was almost within my grasp, Maldron wouldn't give me the satisfaction.
Oh, I'm so bad. Where you going, buddy? Oh!
Anyway, back to the Ivory King. Covetous Demon is here, by the way. Just chilling. Same as before. They also put Flexile Sentry here again. And again, in fairness, they are just regular enemies, not compulsory. I'm just saying. Not saying a lot. And with that, we finally had our band of 4 knights and their brave Onyon leader.
We are about to descend into a hole. A deep hole. And I'm not gonna lie, we might not all come back. But we're doing this for the greater good. Go! Let's go! Oh yeah! Go! More are coming! Seal the gates!
And right on cue, that's exactly what the knights do. They sacrifice themselves after a time to freeze the gates, stopping the spawning of enemies. Therefore, the more knights you have, make it easier on you not to get overwhelmed so you can keep up with these spawning knights until all of the gates are sealed. Well, what happens after that?
Now you must do... Oh wait, all the gates are closed. I don't want to alarm you, but
The Burnt Ivory King fight is the most cinematic experience in Dark Souls 2. His entrance, his armor, his weapon, his fighting style, his story, and what it means to be a king who loves his people and his kingdom. I just adored this boss. The actual fight felt like a culmination of all the bosses I had encountered already in the DLCs, a large empowered sword-wielding humanoid enemy. With a better understanding of how the fight was structured, I felt a surge of confidence on my second attempt.
victory or death.
With the assistance of a friendly face, we were much more efficient this time in dispatching the knights. Perhaps a touch too efficient.
Does anyone want to be a team player? Oh god, there's one gate open. Would someone like to step up and seal this gate for me? One of you?
You see, I thought that the Ivory King spawns when you seal all the gates. But no, that wouldn't actually make sense. He spawns when there are no more enemy knights in the area. Consequently, because we had cleared the enemies so swiftly, not enough time had passed for each friendly knight to get the queue to seal their respective gates, as they do so periodically. So we just had one gate left open just as the boss was entering the arena. In fairness, this could have gone a lot worse. Thankfully, only one extra enemy knight spawned just as my friendly knight sacrificed himself to seal the last gate. One by one, there were no knights left. My summon, Lucatil, graciously departed, and it was just me and a third of the Ivory King's health bar remaining.
That jump! So elegant, sir. Oh, weapon. It turned off. Sir, your weapon appears to have turned off. Didn't kill. Okay, I'm just gonna... Incredibly risky drink paid off. Greed. Greed always wins.
My mid-air swing finally released him as he leapt into the air, and with all 3 crowns, I completed all the DLCs. Oh wait, one more thing. The co-op area. Frigid Outskirts.
Quick. I came prepared. Okay. I can't see.
It gradually dawned on me what the gimmick of this area was.
This way. For sure this way. There's nothing. And no one.
What an absolute load of nothing. Except for when these creatures appeared.
Right, I've lost where I am, but you don't know where you are. Just stay still, and someone will come to you. Yep.
I learnt the hard way that you shouldn't run from them. They will chase you, they will outrange you, and enrage you. However, fighting them was easier said than done.
Why do they have 6 million moves? And like, Covetous Demon gets like 2, roll over and belly flop.
I slowly began to map out more of the area, using the shadows of buildings in the distance to breadcrumb me through the area. But what on earth we were heading towards, I had no idea. Feeling cold and lonely, I decided to see the extent of what summons were available. And just like that, we formed a slightly odd-looking band of merry fellows. Taking down the danger horses was easier, and I elected to take a slow and steady approach.
Let's stop, everyone. Stop and wait. Remember the rule. We're waiting in a line.
Eventually we reached some kind of frozen gorge.
It's a kitty! Oh, two kitties. Two kitties.
Yep, that's right, a duo kitty fight, just like Alpha from earlier. But hey, just as a reminder, there was actually no bonfire between here and the beginning of the entire area, so if you die during the boss fight, you get to do the oh so pleasant blind blithering blizzard walk again. Now 3 summons was probably overkill. I really didn't expect them all to survive any of this. No offense guys. So I did get carried, I'll admit it. While I was barely managing to stay alive due to my sheer incompetence, they managed to draw the cat's attention, and I had some very close calls.
Oh my Claymore! My Claymore! Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
It took me a while to realise that when you defeat one of the tigers, the other is empowered in classic FromSoft style.
Why is the cat red?
And besides that, it also heals at an exponential rate, which meant that despite the combined damage of 4 people, or maybe 3 people is more accurate, this fight was starting to stall. It was time to lock in and actually contribute.
Yeah! My friends! Okay, I will say, I was useless.
Frigid Outskirts was one of the few places I had only heard by name before beginning this playthrough. Because of that, I knew it had some infamy attached to it. After playing through it, honestly it wasn't that bad, but I think I summed it up pretty well here.
Just use the summons. I'm so sorry guys. If I had to spend any more time on it, I would think it is god-awful. But because I didn't, and because I used the systems in the game that were there and implemented, it actually wasn't too bad. You are more than welcome to spend as much time as you want there without summoning anything, but you're going to have a bad time. So if you want to have a bad time, go ahead.
With the last DLC completed, there was just one final thing I had left to do. I brought my 2 summoned friends along, mostly for moral support in getting through Fat Cave, but surprisingly I had a rather smooth run to the boss.
Oh, nice damage, boys. My friend's doing 21 damage. My friends. Oh!
So, is this chalice once again being carried by summons? Yes, a little bit. I had some really close calls. I did not deserve to defeat this boss in this one attempt, but you know what? It's the 50 Vigor. I have no regrets. I hate Fat Cave. Good riddance. And you know what I also hate? Ancient Dragon. This is an optional boss in the sense that you wouldn't even know it's a boss. For all intents and purposes, it's a friendly NPC that gives you stuff. Why would you want to fight it? And I agree, why would anyone want to fight this? There is something broken about this dragon fight specifically. There are other dragon fights in this game, and none of them are like this. It's a larger character model, sure. A high health pool, of course. Now tell me, why am I dead when the dragon breathes fire? Tell me why no matter what direction I run in, I am still getting hit by the fire when I am at full sprint?
We're gonna get hit, that's okay. We get hit again, that's unfortunate. He's up again. We get hit.
Being anywhere in the dragon's front hemisphere was simply a no-go, which was frustrating as that's the direction he's facing in when you entered the arena. So if you get unlucky with his move cycle, it's going to be a rough beginning, if not completely over from the start. I started trying to just beeline for his tail to deal damage that way, as it's as far away from his mouth as possible, and it was somewhat effective.
Get back here! Get back here! Oh my god.
I was over level 170 at this point with a fully maxed out weapon, and the damage was just not satisfying. Really felt like I was doing nothing. Especially since, as dragons do, he was constantly up and down. Every single time he launched himself into the sky, I dreaded the undodgeable fire. I then moved to the foot strat, as chat suggested. This seemed to be going a little bit better, at least because I didn't have to worry about being hit by the tail.
I still got hit.
It definitely seemed to be a DPS check though, because once you ran out of Estus, that was it. Despite some very close attempts, this dragon was getting to me.
Imagine if I just fell off the edge.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done in a list view. Next, I set a priority and a due date to keep.
Especially as it has a moderate runback. You have to dodge the big knights, especially this one, and opening the door every time. Who keeps shutting the door?
Do you want to know the cheese for the fight? I thought I was doing the cheese! What have I been doing then? Go between his toes.
It turns out I wasn't even doing the strat correctly, despite thinking I was. You need to position yourself right in between the dragon's toes, and apparently it disrupts his combat cycle, keeping him grounded for longer.
Then what? Isn't that his right leg? Oh, damn it! I thought you meant my right leg.
This allows you to deal more damage and experience fewer of those ridiculous fire attacks. I'm not sure, I don't even think I was doing it right, even when I believed I was. But at this point, I didn't care. To my knowledge, there's quite a bit of cheese in Dark Souls 2, making bosses fall off, making bosses get one-shot, pretty funny things like that. For the most part, I didn't intentionally use cheese tactics on any bosses. I wanted to fully experience the fights. However, I cannot recommend enough that you use this cheese strategy for the Ancient Dragon boss fight. It's simply not worth fighting him properly. Usually getting two-shot by a boss is understandable if you mess up. You need to learn how to dodge or avoid punishing attacks, but with Ancient Dragon, there's nothing to learn. I could have my full stamina bar and sprint to avoid his attack before the boss even thought about doing the attack, and I would still get hit. How is that fair? I'm done for now, let's finish the game. For reference, I will be discussing the final fight from here on out, so if you don't want any spoilers about who or what it entails, feel free to skip to the last chapter for my conclusion. With all the DLCs complete and the main game content finished, it was time to return to Drangleic Castle and approach these doors that I had yet to venture beyond. To be fair, you could have reached this part at any time, provided you have the King's Ring to unlock the door. However, as I'd purposely left all of this until the end, I was in for quite the finale. Guarding the throne were the aptly named Throne Watcher and Defender. This was quite an enjoyable duo fight, all things considered. The defender was the larger greatsword-wielding enemy, while the watcher was the slimmer battle mage. Remember, I was a bit over-leveled since I had completed all of the DLC before reaching the end of the game. The cool thing about DS2 being that you can technically do the end bosses and then go do the DLC if you wish, as the game doesn't automatically end. So these guys were taking big chunks of damage, but I didn't want to underestimate them. Despite being a duo fight, they didn't overwhelm you. Usually one would take a step back when the other one approached. Eventually, I chose to focus on getting down the defender, and once he was down, I turned my attention to the watcher. What I didn't realise is that his character model remained despite having 0 HP. That would soon be clarified. After exchanging blows with the watcher, they turned and did this.
What? What? Oh my god, oh my god.
These were the telltale signs that this fight would involve resurrecting the other. Too much time had passed between downing the allies. So wanting to take no chances, I panicked and stopped this process before it went ahead. Before I had any time to process what I just fought, the next boss slithered through the door. The reveal is excellent. This figure is in fact Nashandra, Vendrick's wife and Queen of Drangleic, who had been using you to reach the Throne of Want and get past its defences. This stark contrast between her human and true form is quite astonishing. However, throughout my interactions with her, I did have that unsettling feeling that something wasn't quite right. Her fight initially blindsided me in terms of how to approach her. There seemed to be a curse aura emanating from every inch of her, which depletes your HP and max HP significantly. In fairness, I was a bit distracted.
Why did you chuckle when you saw her touch the scythe? You'll understand when you grow up.
On my second attempt, I summoned my beloved Vanguard. Really nice detail here is that when you enter the boss room for the second time, the cutscene is completely different because Nashandra is already there. In fairness, you can fight Nashandra as soon as you have an item called Giant's Kinship, which drops from the Giant Lord fight. As I mentioned, I chose to leave all of this until the end. I didn't know how many bosses were awaiting me, and I certainly wasn't expecting 2. What about 3? My chat informed me that I actually had to hit those floating orbs to dissipate the curse aura. Now, there wasn't any impact or noise that I was aware of, so it wasn't the most satisfying mechanic.
I fear I am not doing it correctly.
In the end, I kind of brute forced the fight a little bit. Once you recast the orbs, I took down half of them, and because I invested in so much vigour, I could just about out-heal the curse in time to bring her down. Not the hardest or most satisfying fights in the game, but what it meant was much more significant. And I'm all for lore fights, which is why the ending I got was all the more special. Because of my choices I had made in the game, Uldir was my final boss. Once again, my shock at the reveal hindered my combat skills. For my second attempt, I went in alone and gave more time to observe how Uldir fights. Very thematically, he uses fire, and eventually extinguishes himself to give you an opening to attack his gnarled branch-like body. And once again, it wasn't a hard fight at this point. The hardest part was seeing how many attacks you could get in before he lit himself on fire, began to burn you again. But it was a somewhat sad fight. The soundtrack here is quite unsettling, melancholy, but also curious. Very, very fitting for what Uldir is all about.
Is that the outfit you want in the final cutscene? You're damn right it is.
And slowly and steadily, I defeated the last boss of Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. Interestingly, this Uldir fight didn't exist in the original release of Dark Souls 2, and also you wouldn't have had this choice.
Ooh, I can choose!
In fact, if I am to understand correctly, the entire NPC of Aldia didn't exist until the Scholar of the First Sin edition, where his additional boss fight, dialogue and interactions were included in this edition as well as being patched into the vanilla edition. And I can't imagine playing this game without Aldia. The philosophy that he adds really makes this game something special, and indeed the ending so powerful.
If I know anything about Dark Souls, about FromSoft games, then this is the right choice.
To reject power, to walk away from the throne in search of another way, a different method to end our suffering, one that might not even exist. I found myself back in Majula. It was over. There were some things I wanted to say, but I'll let Chalice reiterate without the risk of embarrassing myself again.
This might not be a big deal to a lot of people, or like, you know, bigger picture stuff like that. I didn't think I was going to beat this game. If I can beat this game, then so can everyone else. It was my biggest obstacle in wanting to make stuff like this, was being able to actually play the game and engage with it. Being able to complete a game on stream with everyone watching, and doing silly things, making mistakes, not having all the answers to everything or knowing the optimum stuff is like hard for someone who can be perfectionistic at times, you know, and being able to make a fool of yourself. Especially coming from playing Elden Ring, and a lot of people having quite high expectations of me, and what I know and what I can do. So thank you everyone for being patient with me. I feel really silly. But I genuinely enjoyed this a lot. It was really fun to do. I'm glad I streamed it. I'm glad a lot of people like watching me play. I just want anyone who is watching or will watch this to know that if you're worried or like intimidated by the genre of Dark Souls and Souls-like games, that you just have to be a little bit patient and try, and it will be very rewarding if you click with it. So I would recommend it to anyone who is wanting to play a game like this but is afraid that it might be too hard or they might not like it, to just try. So yeah.
To some, DS2 might be the easiest Souls game, while to others could be the hardest. For me, I had no idea what to expect. I went in without any preconceived notions, only aware of the notoriety it accrued. Although I wasn't there to play it on release day or during its edition relaunch, playing it now, almost 11 years later, I think this game is great fun. Does it have a slow start? new system to learn, and occasionally be a little bit unintuitive, of course. But to me, that does not make it a bad game. How it compares to other Dark Souls games in the series is of course still heavily debated. I know that people on the internet, especially gamers, can be hyperbolic when it comes to opinions on games. However, I also believe that you really need to give things a fair chance before forming an opinion. So do I think Dark Souls 2 is worth playing? Yes, absolutely. I think if you like Elden Ring, you will probably enjoy Dark Souls 2. There are numerous similarities between the way the world is structured in both lore and gameplay. If you're interested in playing the Dark Souls trilogy for the first time or revisiting it, you shouldn't skip Dark Souls 2. And if you somehow hold the belief that DS2 has nothing to do with the rest of the trilogy story, you would be very mistaken. There are many references to characters and events in Dark Souls, and the fact that they continued some of these important and beloved NPCs into DS3 was a really touching way to honour this story. And just because I didn't touch too much on the story itself and the lore in this video, it doesn't mean I won't. If you would like to hear my opinions and retellings of things I found fascinating, then please let me know. I would love to discuss Dark Souls in the same manner that I've spoken about Elden Ring on this channel for so long. In the same way, I would love to stream more and do more first playthroughs over on Twitch where I stream now. I want to end this video by just saying I think Dark Souls 2 definitely seemed to be an experimental phase into different features and systems, that partly being due to Miyazaki not being the director. However, as much as I've seen people use this as a point of criticism, Miyazaki wasn't completely absent, he was still the supervisor. I'd like to end this video with a few of his words that he said during an interview with IGN. There's really no way of telling how or if the series would have continued the way it did without Dark Souls 2. I actually personally think that this was a really great project for us, and I think without it, we wouldn't have had a lot of the connections and a lot of the ideas that went forward and carried the rest of the series. Miyazaki put a lot of trust into the people that play his games. We trust that they'll overcome these challenges, and we trust that they'll make these discoveries. And I think giving them trust just creates a healthy landscape for them to play an adventure.